What is consciousness? The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question that has captivated human minds for centuries. Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Yes, welcome to the live stream of consciousness, where we ask the questions that have captivated the minds of humans for centuries. Each week, we do it each week. It is Thursday again. You're here at the live stream of consciousness. Of course, I'm Michael Zinn. I'm excited for tonight's episode because it's kind of like a time warp. It's bringing me back in time to when we started this whole thing. We started the live stream of consciousness about 2.5 years ago. I was just looking on the YouTube page, and we've had so many amazing guests and conversations. And season 1 was probably about a year, maybe a little bit more than a year. And it was a lot of fun. And it started the live stream of consciousness, which is the moment that you're in right now. So hello, and thank you guys for coming all the time. I see Ninja Kitty's out there. I think Tim is out there. And I'm just excited to be here because tonight's guest is one of the original hosts of the live stream of consciousness. I started this show with Jesse Blaze, and I was doing a broadcast for his amazing series he created, the 13 Laws of Universal Knowledge, and 13 Universal Laws, I think it was, with Jesse Blaze. And it was an amazing time. And when we were done with that, Jesse was like, I really love doing this. Let's do this some more. Why don't you come be my co-host? And I know I've told this story a million times on the show, but it's always amazing to me that here I am, an on-screen person talking to you guys with a family here. What's up, Jilly? What's up, Helen? Good to see you guys. And we're at it again. And without further ado, I think he's ready over in the other room. Jesse Blaze Snyder, welcome back to the live stream of consciousness. What's happening, my friend?
Hello, sir. You know, before you ask me the question, let me revise history because, the man's being a little modest. A lot of what happened here was I was trying to do something. Michael has a lot of love to give. And we were constantly talking about how he created great space. And we were thinking about starting a show for him called, Holding Space with Mike?
Holding Space and Creating Space, yeah.
And he just wasn't exactly ready to do that, didn't feel like confident in doing it. And we were just like, we wanted to do something to continue what we were doing. And we were like, well, let's just continue what we were already doing, which was these classes that I was putting on at the local spiritual store over here during COVID, so that anybody could go and take them if they wanted to. But, for me, at a certain point, I came to the realization that, all I ever wanted was for Michael to have a show where he could hold space for people. And he's so great at that. He doesn't need me. Wow. And in general, that's a struggle for me sometimes, holding space for other people, not because I don't love other people but I get very excited and I have a lot of energy. And when you have more energy and you're trying to hold back, but you're excited, you're a lot for most people. So I know that about myself. And I was like, I think this is Michael's show. And this is exactly the vehicle that was always intended to be when we first sat down and said, let's make something for you. And we did. It just happened to be this other thing. So for me, I think everything happened exactly.
I like that. I like that perspective, and I appreciate it. And Lily Ninja Kitty was in the class. It was an awesome class, she said, and it really was. It was a different time. Remember that? That was COVID. That was like right in the thick of it. Yeah. But we were doing stuff, we were forging ahead and making the best of it. And,
we were active little ants.
Cool. And Helen says, I get like that sometimes too. Hello, Jesse. Cool. So Jesse, it's been a while since I've had you here, and you don't you don't stand in the same river twice. You're not the same person that you were the last time you were here. So can you give us your take on the classic question, what is consciousness?
Hmm.
You had to know that was coming.
It is the difference between understanding and misunderstanding.
Ooh.
And I really think that it shows across the board. Somebody was saying something to me the other day, very innocently, but they were just describing a person who is a friend of ours who's a bit of a fuck up in a lot of ways or whatever. And they were just kind of saying, yeah, they've got like a reputation, and they were using a couple of those little like chains of clarification that we put onto people that are
Mhm.
very abstract and just sort of like bad.
Mhm.
And I went, well, that's not true. I'm like, that's what everybody always does to everybody. Really, what's going on here is this guy's fundamentally broken in a few very clear ways that I can see.
Mhm.
The pattern that we keep talking about this person is, look what they're doing with women. They're lying to everybody. Look what they're doing with all of their projects. They like, are kind of passive aggressive, and then they go and talk shit behind people's backs. And like, these are signs of weakness and an inability to, stand up for oneself. So then instead you get into a pattern of self-hating and like,
Mhm.
it's not so much that it's so simple that he's just a bad guy. Everybody's going through a unique set of circumstances that have turned them into the person that they are.
Mhm.
And to be conscious, I believe, is to be aware of that,
Yeah.
and to be aware of the idea that, kind of get over yourself. Everybody can only really react from the place that they're coming from.
Right.
And more often than not, the place where they're coming from can explain any problem that you might have had with them. They didn't call you. It's not because they didn't like you necessarily. It's
Mhm.
because they're having trouble with themselves.
Right.
There's always like a more innocent answer. Um,
Mhm.
you know, even like, when it comes to like crazy things like conspiracy and stuff like that, you don't have to go to any dark place if you don't want to. Just go
Right.
to the money is corrupting the system and it needs to be fixed. There you go.
Mhm.
There's your life raft.
Totally. No, no, I really I like what you're saying there. And I think that the idea of, being able to be compassionate for someone because, they're just a collection of the circumstances, that happened to them, and trying to deal with them. And I think that's a great way to be more loving, to the people around you, is to be compassionate like that. So I like
Another way to say it is like to have a conscious understanding of your effect on people.
Mhm.
I mean, and hey, man, that was like a really hard journey for me because I'm a pretty innocent guy. So I like ran through life just like, yay. And then when I would run into problems, I would be like, I'm so embarrassed,
Right.
because I would just sort of dunder into certain things. So at a certain point, as you make a few of the same dunderheaded moves a few times, you start to go, well, if you're conscious, or you start to go, well, hey, wait a second, what's the output? It's like that moment in The Grinch where he's like, there's no messages. He's like, let me check the outgoing, and it says, if you lay a finger, well, perhaps, that has something to do with why you don't have any messages. He said, you'd be
Yeah,
so.
no, no, I think it's pretty obvious, and I mean, that's the whole basis of the live stream of consciousness and the philosophy, the philosophies we talk about here about energy being everything, and the energy you put out is the energy you get back, and how you can be accountable for that energy, and you can, respond to things the way, not necessarily respond to things the way you think you have to, and you've been kind of trained to, and you can
Yeah.
learn new ways.
Well, and that's the tough thing. I know a lot of you people out there who've tried this kind of thing. The first thing that you want to say is like, I tried that, but like, it keeps happening. Like, and oh my God, dude, nobody understands that more than this guy right here. Like, oh man, you keep doing the same thing because you put so much energy into doing it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you slowly, pull yourself away. I think of everything, society and people, we all have like a swinging pendulum of energy, and there's a lot of ways that you can look at it. You can look at it in like the larger scale of like swinging from one life to another, and this past life leads to this life, which leads to this life, which is this life, or the smaller one that everybody's going through, which is just the me, and I learned a whole bunch of things, and okay, I'm getting the hang of it. I think this is pretty good. Okay, maybe I had a bunch of things wrong. And it swings back and forth like that. You see it in society right now, where for a long time things were like, sort of pressed to the right to a certain degree, and then all of a sudden a flip switched, and it didn't stay there. It continued to move until you got to a point of absurdity on the other side of things. And now all the funny comedy is Republican, like because now like this is expressing itself to this extreme degree. But now already you're seeing as Disney plummets into oblivion, and all these companies are getting screwed by playing these social political games and all these things, and Bud Light's getting boycotted and whatnot. There it is. Okay, now that means this starts to slow down, and then at a certain point that thing goes back the other way. And that's what happens with people, and that's what happens with relationships and everything. People don't understand. It doesn't come down to as with everything. This is stories and anything you're doing. It doesn't come down to what exactly is being said. It's the energy of what is being said. You could say hello to your brother and progress a feud with him that you've been having for years and years and years. You can say hello to your brother and decompress energy from a feud that's been having. It's going like this.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to push it a little bit higher up. You got to put effort into making each other hate each other. Like, oh, you said you love me, you gave me a hug. Oh, look at that. There are these like these degrees of this thing, and you don't realize it, but just like every time you walk in the room, every interaction, however small, carries with it an energy of disdain or glory, and it's a person who I love to see, and what, and that mounts and builds, and other energies build as well. So I mean, it's very funny, like when we say, because you and I've been saying that for years, like everything's energy, but like it's so fucking practical what we're saying. We're not saying something that's impractical. We're saying, look at how life is led by impulse. My cojones make me go to that girl over there, and they make us have a baby, and now there's a baby, and then the need to keep this baby alive, which is nerves and care and love, is to go out and get work and jobs and bring home food and bread and start businesses, and businesses are made to help the other people be happy while we're making our necessity. Energy drives everything, and the necessity that we're generally in when we start out is like a pinball in the machine. Like we get launched out of the machine from the bing, and we're like, and then and the thing with consciousness is when we get back down to that paddle at the bottom that's about to launch us again, this time we have to be aware of what's going on. And if we remain unconscious, we continue to be a mindless pinball going through the machine. But if we become conscious, we can start to aim for those bonus points and shit, and do a really good job. In pinball, you're aiming with the little paddles, but it's just, it's a game of conscious behavior, as opposed to allowing yourself to just be, I don't understand. Why do people hate me? Why do things like this keep happening me over and over again? I don't get it. Well, there may be a reason why you don't
take a part. Take a part in that.
You are the only person who can take responsibility for your life. Nobody else can. Nobody else generally will. Even if you were able to force them to. Like at the end of the day, it's like you got to take responsibility for every trauma. And it's like I've said this even to my daughter. As she was growing up, it's like any trauma that befolds you, like as terrible as it could be, up to rape, and it's such a terrible thing for people to say who've been through this, but blame and revenge, it feels good, but it kills you. It hurts you. It hurts you to hate other people.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the only strength that we can find is in taking responsibility for everything. We happened to be there that night. I don't know why that energy and my energy met up with that thing, but for some reason it did, and it's meant to teach me or grow me on some level. And I am going to attempt to learn from this, because one, if I don't approach it that way, I'm just going to be stuck in this rut for forever. And it might kind of feel good to feel pain. I wrote a song called Carry Me Home, and the main bit of it is, that it I almost love the pain, because you get used to the cycle, fall into this pain. I've had chronic pain my whole life. I got hit by a car. Well, most of my life, I guess. I got hit by a car when I was younger, and dealing with that chronic pain, you do realize that there are moments where all of a sudden you find yourself sort of like falling into it, like, oh God, it's here again. But all right, I'm used to this feeling. This is the feeling, and we can't go quietly into that good night in that way as much as we would like to. And so, no matter how heinous the crimes that may have been committed upon us, it's just always the only thing to try to find your way to being able to remove your hate from outside of yourself, and forgive and recognize that you are the only one who can take responsibility for your life and define what it means.
Sure.
And sometimes it's like, what, you want me to take this shit and turn it into Shinola? But yeah, that's part of it. I find so much with these,
well, the other choice
universal.
is the other choice is you got shit. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
if you want to walk around with shit, then no, keep it shit. But if you
Well,
don't,
that's the
you can
biggest
make
part of it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like when you have I've gone to Peru and done ayahuasca. I've done ayahuasca in LA, and it had some very profound spiritual experiences with plants and meditation in my life and whatnot. And a lot of these realizations, it's there's a steady pattern where it's like both. The answer is both. The answer is dual. The answer is, that's terrible that I was hurt in this way, but also look how it changed me in this way for the better. Look how look this, like there, and everybody's got a different sort of story. And a lot of times, any sort of, you don't want to put a positive light on something, you'll never find it.
Right.
And it's really hard sometimes when people say, try to put a positive light on that, turn that frown upside down. Like,
It's not always easy.
sometimes you're just like, get the hell out of here, but it is this thing for your own good. I remember one time I got into some very deep meditation after I was very upset with somebody. And my spirits essentially said to me, forgive them, like they just like kind of kept going at me, forgive them. And I said to them at the time, I said, I will, but it feels good to be mad at them right now, and I want to be mad at them. And my spirit said, but you're hurting yourself. And they put like a real like focus, like all of a sudden I felt like this focus on my shoulders, and I realized I was hurting myself. I could feel this tenseness in my neck and in my shoulders. And I've always had a little bit of trouble and pain in that area anyway, from various things over the years. And I was like, oh my God, like me hating them is literally physically hurting me.
Tensing you up. Yeah.
And it just applies to all of us across the board. We don't realize how much our outsides are our insides. And as much as it might feel good to punch the guy in the face, at the very least, I tell you, I'm pretty positive that when we go to the other side, we get all the information pertaining to our life, meaning the download of every brain and the download of every animal and the download of the clouds and the download of all the inanimate objects, like we get the whole thing. We get to understand what did we do? Were we unkind? Was that not cool? Did that not
Right.
feel good?
Right.
Did I
Right.
just rip the wings off that fly? What did that feel like? Oop,
Right.
now I know what that feels like. Like,
Right.
I really
Right.
believe that that's part and parcel of reconnecting with the intelligence, because we are little pieces of the intelligence collecting intelligence, and it comes with reconnecting to the well of all the information and adding what we've learned and what we've acquired to that well of information. So I mean, for me, I just like, it always comes down to that, because that really helps you understand how it is you're supposed to be treating other people.
Yeah.
if
Totally.
if every time I punch you, I'm going to feel it,
Right.
and granted, at the
Right.
same time, though, it does become relative for some crazy person like me, where I'm like, yeah, I don't mind getting punched a couple times in the next life. Like,
It's
whatever.
interesting that, yeah, it's interesting that we're having this conversation, because I don't know if you remember, just the other day, my brother had sent me that story about somebody who had died and gone to heaven, and it was being explained to them that they've got to go back and they've got to live another life. And what do you mean, why? And basically the idea that we live as every other being, we live as every other existence to experience that existence, and that's a part of ascension. That's a part of
Yeah.
one of the theories of reincarnation. Like, so we
Can I
are.
add? I want to
Yeah,
add to
go
that,
ahead.
though.
Go ahead.
Well, I
Add
was
to it.
just going to say, just because it's very interesting, like you said, I was just happening to have this conversation with Julie the other day,
Mhm.
or kind of related conversation, because it started with,
Oh, I lost your mic. You lost your mic.
oh, are we back?
Yes, you're back.
Yes, I'm back.
You
Okay,
said I had a
so
conversation with Julie.
yeah, so I had a conversation with Julie the other day, my girlfriend, and we were talking about, a very tiny group of people for each of us that, like, we feel connected to, even though we don't know them, but like we've seen them do interviews, whatever, we've seen them in movies, and for some reason we feel very drawn to them. And the conversation kind of came up also about, could that be me? Could that be another incarnation of me? And as far as I know, from my understanding of things, very much it can be you. And we
Mhm.
can be in a dual incarnation. At
Mhm.
some point in time, where like that's essentially me over there. But just like, but I said to her, I said, but it would always be like in a different stage of your
Right. Another
energetic
essence.
development,
Right.
because
Exactly. Yeah.
that's when that's when you were learning through this body, and your
Right.
energy changed in this way, and then that
Right.
energy, once it had changed, it went into another body, and then it's changed, right? And then she said, well, of course that means, well, oh, no, I first I said something, I said, yeah, I said, it's kind of like those paper dolls where like you pull out the things and they're all connected together through a string.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
she said something to the effect of like, and like, so doesn't that mean we're all the same person then? And I said,
Right.
yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
It kind of
Absolutely.
does.
That is ultimately what it means. We're all essentially, we're all this like we're this consciousness, right? And we get
Right.
put into different shapes and things to become the smorgasbord of things that we can be, and understand what it means, and our consciousness grows and learns and changes,
Right.
but it's all approximately the same. So like,
Right.
this seems to be on the table as well, that like the Jesse Blaze Snyder avatar can be
Right.
used not just for my soul right now, whatever, but because there is no time, they can, in a multiverse of possibilities, whatever, have somebody go and do the Jesse thing, and they'll be faced with the same changes and choices or whatever. Like,
Right.
so there's a lot of really interesting possibilities on the other side of things, in the matrix of things, because it's a mind, and it's
Mhm.
just trying to achieve a sort of equilibrium. All the pieces of itself that come to consciousness want to become consciously aware of all the things. So
Right.
they slowly grow and grow and grow. And ultimately, are they any different from each other? One
Right.
infinite thing and another infinite thing. It's just these growing infinite consciousnesses. And a lot of these things apparently come together on the other side of things, and consciousnesses will form into um, uh, what do they call them? Complexes, social memory
Collective. Correct.
complexes.
Oh.
They call them, or at least I've heard them called social memory complexes. So social memory complex is essentially, let's say 3 people, 4 people, 20 people who loved each other so much and appreciated each other so much, and all the compliments that were there for themselves energetically. And they saw that their energy combined would sort of bring them to this next level of being and whatever else. And they became one. Great lovers who wanted to be together forever, but they knew in other lives they'd love other people. Let's be one. And now, like so it's there's this like exploding apart of consciousness, and then this recoagulation back. But I believe, because of the nature of consciousness and that like individuality thing, which is 50% not real because we're all one, but it is 50% real. Each individual thing, experiencing
Is an
thing,
individual
has
thing,
its
right?
own consciousness, and
Yeah.
ultimately it becomes the pinball that went through the machine, and in the particular way that it did, probably uniquely different from all the other pinballs in the machine, and I believe is sort of birthed out on the other side of things as a god of the next level of things, which is beyond yours and mine comprehension. Though I think there are levels like before that like we can reason. Like I think like some of the next levels of like godliness, these beings are playing like games with each other, just like sharpening their wits and having a good time with people that they love, and being clever to each other without any spite. I think that's like some next level thing, is to be a sportsman but without the despair. So like so there's a lot of levels of consciousness, before you get out
Yeah.
of this thing, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And and I only begin to understand, but I'm somebody who's a real big picture thinker, and it's always
Right.
about me just understanding the basic building blocks of things. And
Right.
a long time ago now, I feel like I got to the bottom of reality and basically what was going on, enough that I was like,
Right.
okay, time to
Right.
try to utilize some of this knowledge here.
Sure. One of the things you said was interesting about how maybe there's somebody who you feel connected to, and that might be another essence of you, right? Existing in the same, what seems to be the same time moment, right? But is actually, it's an essence of you in a different time of ascension. And that kind of, I feel like that kind of supports the idea of time happening all at once, right? Everything happens all at once, right?
I
In
just
that
got a really amazing. That's so funny.
so I just want to
Wait, wait,
clear up.
wait, wait. I have to share this. I have to
Okay.
share this real quick because this
Okay.
is just amazing. It's like a download as we're talking, right? Um, so I had been told before that one of these people, I won't mention the thing, but like I felt the person that I was really identifying with, part of this conversation with Julie earlier today, was an actor. And I had told my friend of mine who, um, he told me that we were part of the same soul group. And I had always, I don't know, thought of that in the abstract of like, well, the X-Men has Colossus from Russia, and it's got Kurt Wagner from Germany, and the Canadian, and but now I actually see that could actually very well mean, and probably does to some degree, a soul group, right? Because you can't exist just exactly as you at any given time. So it's got to be your energy as put through this thing, either after or before having been put through Jesse. And that would be what? A paper string of souls. It's not, none of them are exactly you, but that's
Right.
your soul group,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's
Right.
kind of interesting.
That is totally interesting. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
totally
there's a lot of
interesting.
possibilities here. And I mean, these things are,
I love it. I love it.
this is human beings trying to boil down and break down things into matters that people can understand. But I mean, so many of these things I've experienced very viscerally
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
psychedelic experiences and whatnot, where, you get a feel of what's going on. But it's just, it's also hard to explain as a
Yeah.
human being, because it
It is.
is
Well,
energy.
we're kind of limited to a set of language and a set of three-dimensional expressions, right?
Yeah.
Especially in this platform right here. Um, so two things I wanted to acknowledge, like for folks who are out there and the conversation is getting a little bit weird. Like that's what we love to talk about. We really just love to think about kind of the way things are set up and why and what it all means, and and not in a like super serious way, just kind of like, hey, this could be this or that could be that. And I also wanted to catch up with Helen, who said a couple of good things here. She was saying, is it possible some of us look too deeply at our existence? Is it possible some of us look too deeply at our existence is no more or less than exactly what we are aware of on the surface?
Oh, wow, that's a huge thing. Yes. Helen, that was like a big thing for me, with like being able to like judge my ability as a craftsman. I write comic books and I make music. I remember I had a really profound experience where I realized, yeah, that woman who just said, "Oh yeah, where are you from?" She's hitting on me. Like, like you go through life when you're in that unconscious state, and for a while sometimes when you become conscious because you're still not sure of like not validating like the simplest of things. Like you've seen movies, right? You know how this is the story. Somebody goes, "Oh, I'm interested in you," so then they say some additional thing, and you can measure generally that additional thing, what that additional thing is, and go, "Okay, I'm not out of my mind here." Unfortunately, the same thing goes both ways. So when you're really itching, like, "Ooh, I think I might be out of my mind," you're probably out of your mind. The biggest thing for me to learn, and I think it's ultimately true for everybody and anybody, if you can get yourself into a relaxed state,
Mhm.
is that the best things that are ever going to come out of you are going to come out of your intuition.
Mhm.
It's going to come from your place of passion and joy, and it's going to come very naturally. And those things are going to end up guiding your life. And at a certain point in time, you might be like me, and I hope you're not. You're going to crash and burn in a couple ways, and you're going to like sort of like more properly evaluate where your success has lied. And you're going to realize that the times that you were micromanaging and hyperventilating and freaking out, you never did yourself any good. Just never. And the times that you were intuitive and spontaneous and cool and collected and
The
relaxed,
best things happen.
the best things happened and the
Yeah,
best work came
so
out of
true.
you, and you were just so good at it. And like now, like when it comes to me with work, because I am so relaxed with it, and I do know that I'm really good at what I've done. I mean, a lot of me coming to terms with my talent was just time and practice. I
Mhm.
was terrified about that stuff for so
Sure.
long, but I did it for so long. I was so active at what I was doing, and I really trained myself so well and understood. I was so well read. I read so many things and studied so many people that I really understood what I was looking at.
Right.
And that was when I realized that was realizing that practical view of reality of like, I know what I'm looking at. This
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
This is
Totally.
good work. You've done the thing. This
Totally.
was the thing that needed to be done. You can understand what that really means, and you did it. And you actually probably did it better than most people because you were very consciously aware of
Yeah.
what the job was
Totally.
actually supposed to be. And I think a lot
Absolutely.
of people these days, especially writers, they don't fucking have a clue what the job is actually supposed to be.
Right.
It's really
You've
it's
been
disheartening.
expressing a lot of frustration with that lately. I
Yeah.
want to. I just want to give a shout out to Grace Grella, who is watching on both platforms. Give us a little comment on both platforms. Give us
Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
happy Hanukkah from Grace. But yeah, that really helps. And if you are new here watching and just kind of hanging in the shadows and not in the chat, that's great. But chatting with us helps grow the show, and also subscribing to the channel helps grow. So if you like it, please do that. It's so great to have you back, Jesse. I just love listening to you talk, but I do want to get into some of the cool things that you're doing now. You've got so much. You were talking about earlier, being inspired to take care of your family and being able to do these things, and I'm sitting back and I'm watching you kind of figure that out over the last couple of years, and now you've got so many great things going on with your podcast. You've got multiple podcasts going on that are getting hundreds of thousands of listens, which is so exciting. I think exactly what you said. You're doing what you're comfortable with. Your podcasts are You're the Coolest Geek Alive, which is one of your podcasts, and it's such a great moniker for you because you're so talented, but you're also so passionate about the comic book culture and the movie culture and the superhero culture and all of these things. So it's great to see you taking that and actually making money and making a living off of that stuff. So I'm giving you lots of kudos. I want to talk about some of those things.
Well, thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that, man. You know, it's um, it's been a journey. I have always been like a rebel, a bit of a punk. I don't like the system, and I've like skirted it my whole life and tried to remain independent. But independence comes with lots of hurdles, and there's nobody looking out for you. And then when you're building a family, and like for me, I was making six figures a year, and then had the rug put out from under me while I was building a business, and while I was sort of like committed to a number of things because things seemed like they were going okay. And when it rains, it pours, and there tends to be lots of reasons for that, unfortunately. And again, like you have to take responsibility for your part of things and realign yourself. And for me, I've spent the better part of like 6 years now doing a lot of studying of information. And it's so funny because like sometimes the things I'll be watching, I know like my girlfriend will look over me, she'll be like sort of like judging me. I'm like, but I'm just always trying to really properly judge the temperature of the room. I prefer to be right and not doing it the way that people like, because I don't think that we're getting the right results. So clearly the way we're doing it isn't right. And so I'm not very much a follower, and I'm generally always right, but you don't make money from being right. It's like I can have the best ideas for Marvel Comics and DC Comics, and I could have helped them so much with so many different things. And, like I could have delivered some of these things that they're delivering right now to people that people hate. I could have delivered them in a way that people wouldn't have hated them so much.
Right.
I mean, like there are ways to write, to carve this entertainment so that people can escape and have a great time. And I've studied my whole life to do that. So, I've come to a place of great confidence about it from just a lot of practice at it, and and being able to look at things more practically, like we were talking about earlier. But I forget why I was mentioning that.
Well, because I said I wanted to talk about some of the things that you're doing now, and I was just
we were talking about the podcast, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I really had to reinvent myself a little bit and how I was doing things. So, one of the things that there's tons of YouTube channels that make like little documentary channels. And I was just absorbing tons of those channels on various YouTubers and social media people's rise and fall, what they did, how they built their channels, how they fell. And generally speaking, what I found was that everybody was sort of riding the algorithms and playing hashtag games and playing into markets that were always there, which was always a problem for me. Like my first band, Baptized by Fire, with lots of people love. One of the big problems with us coming up was we just didn't have a genre, and we didn't like pick one to like roll with. So there was never like nights that we would be invited to and whatnot. And like I should have just picked punk, or I should have picked metal. I should have just picked a night. But like I didn't have the perspective at the time. At the time, I was living unconsciously, but that was really a problem. Right. So like something as an example, and I know you were going to ask me about this later, but I mean as an example, with my comic, I did a comic book called King of Kings. We just did a successful fundraise for it a little bit ago. I'm finally, I just like put it into the printer yesterday. I'm so happy. And now I'm doing a new book that's a mature reader's book with nudity called Fucking for Our Future. And the book is something that I like never thought I would do ever, because I generally always like hated that nudity. I would always sort of bothered me how it would affect the reading experience, because like what it would say about the characters or whatever else. But I was tired of seeing these like corporate comics people, not really corporate comics people, just like these business-minded comics people taking advantage of a market that was there and obviously wants content and making really terrible, often just kind of slimy, grotesque versions of the thing. And I was like, well, I can do a more beautiful, better job with the thing. And I'm
Mhm.
like, and maybe I can figure out how to like wrap myself around it intellectually to come up with something really cool. So, like in that reinvention, of the time, it was okay. There's a market for mature readers comics.
Mhm.
And the premise for my book, the nudity of the woman, she's in a power armor. You don't even see her naked.
Yeah,
She's
let me
she's
bring that up on
she's a
the
robot,
screen.
and but she's got expanding boobs and all these different things that open up on this giant sex doll, basically, that
Mhm.
has been made um to collect the sperm samples from these giant three-legged men whose penises are now dragged on the floor. And it's been 1,000 years since the men and the women have had any contact, and now they're sending this power armor out into the wilderness to get the samples, because the men are big and the women have become these like petite little things. So it's really interesting and kind of subversive, and the nudity's there and those things. If you want to look at it for that, you can.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it's just a really funny kind of Roadrunner cartoon-esque comic, with just a lot of heart and soul and thought that went into it, and a ton of laughter. So I
Mhm.
mean, you know, it really has been a bunch of years of transformation, and like this is something I never thought that I would do in a million years.
Right.
And then similarly, like I'm a big YouTube guy, and I've been like a host on TV, but I've never done a lot of podcast listening. But a
Mhm.
company called the Podcast Playground approached me through a really good friend of mine, like a year ago now, and we put together this show, a geek culture show that now, I don't know, we've got to be like 75 episodes in or something. I
Mhm.
do twice a week, called the Cool Geek Alive. And yeah, like you said, we actually, we're like just under 500,000 downloads every month for the past
That's
like 3 or
amazing.
4
That's
months. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So the show's catching on more and more, and I've been like doing lots of appearances on some of my favorite YouTube channels as well, which is cool. um and now there's a music show that I just launched, and I guess the second episode is going to post Monday, called All Your Favorite Bands Suck, which is basically all my favorite bands, kind of counterculture favorite bands, and things that I think don't get enough attention in the mainstream, and are some of the greatest bands of all time, but are sometimes unsung for one reason or another. Like comedy bands and punk bands and rap bands, and there's so many musical acts that tend to get a bit marginalized, and all the ones that are my favorite, I'm going to be showcasing, and eventually I'll be bringing on friends and stuff to help uh bring in some of their favorite bands, because I will run out at a certain point bands that I think are deserving of such an epitaph. But I mean, I got like 60 shows planned out, so I'm good for a while.
Yeah, I love it. I want to go back to the comic book for a bit, because I know you just launched that today. And I was very excited about this when you told me we're going to be working on this, and like there was a specific kind of plan behind it, but also this deeper story. And I think it's great, and I love also, just again, with everything that you're doing right now, how you are really, I don't know if leveraging is the right word, I guess it is, leveraging the relationships that you've created with different comic book artists over the career that you had writing comic book stories, and friends that you've made, and kind of being able to do these projects with friends. So
Yeah,
even
me and my buddy Dizzy Arnold, we did this for free essentially. He hired an amazing colorist to do our covers,
Mhm.
um, but um, but we did everything soup to nuts. I mean, like I did all of the Photoshop work, and running all the campaign stuff, and I'll be doing all the printing and making all the things. Like, right now, what's up on Fund My Comic is like a half version of the campaign that'll be
Right.
launched a little over a month from now or whatever on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
There's an exclusive cover that you can get here, and but this is kind of like our getting the motor started and paying for that colorist, and paying a couple of bills, and just having an excuse to get the word out. Like Kickstarter wouldn't let me put up the thing for notification until I had fulfilled my Kickstarter order. So we decided, okay, well, we'll put up a page on Fund My Comics,
Right.
and then people can at least go there for the time being, and they have a nice deal up. So,
Right.
so yeah, but I mean, like, there's a ton coming in the pipeline, and I was just got off the phone tonight with my friend Todd Blackwood. He and I are doing a Star Wars parody comic called Star Wars Pimps of the Galaxy.
Nice.
He's amazing, and again, it's another partnership. Two friends coming together, going, "Hey, I can do this, 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 and this. This is all a lot of work, but I'll put in that if you do this, this, and this. I know that's a lot of work too. Like, can
Right.
we be partners and make this happen?"
Right.
And the answer has been a resounding yes for a number of my great relationships, to my great delight. So I've got a whole smorgasbord of books coming up, and this is my second podcast, and I'm working on doing a spiritual show in the near future. But first, there might be another podcast on the weekends with my son Cassidy. He
Oh, I
wants
love
to
that
do
idea. Yeah,
a
yeah.
horror review show with his dad. He loves horror movies. I don't really love horror movies, but I've come to love them because I love him and I love
And how
watching them
old
with
is
him.
he? How old is
He is 12 now.
Wow, I love that idea of you doing a show. Your relationship with your kids is definitely special. Being a friend of yours and having seen it firsthand, and my take on the Snyder family and the Snyder energy in general. I feel like that's just a great way to kind of rev up the legacy. Start them young.
Yeah, he's excited about it. It's very funny actually, because he's my son Cassidy. He's kind of very shy. But you get him on a microphone and put him on a live stream, and he's telling jokes, and
That's
he's
awesome.
so
I
charming.
want to
And
say hi to Mackenzie, who's out there. Look who showed up, Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, oh, hi
Yeah.
Mackenzie, I love you, sweetie. Nice to
So
hear
good,
from you,
so
baby.
good to see your name in the chat there, Kenzie. And Tim was saying that he checked out the Kickstarter this afternoon. He says he's not sure that it's Sonia's cup of tea, though.
Oh yeah, no, she just tell her about it. Tell her to read the thing. Sonia will love it. It's freaking hysterical. Just tell her. Tell Sonia. Say, Sonia, there's a little girl and she's piloting this giant machine because the men have become asexual beasts in the wilderness after 1,000 years of not needing each other. And this is just the calamitous, hysterical thing of these intelligent women trying to get sperm from these dullard men who just aren't interested in sex anymore.
That's hysterical. So he's got to say that in Portuguese.
Yeah, say it in Portuguese, but it's like seriously, I really believe that I've made something that like is amazing for everybody. Like it's very intellectual and funny.
It's really
well
funny
done.
because it is. I think it is because it's like bold and like you're just like whoa, shocked for a minute, but once you peel back that layer and you look a little deeper, it's like
it's so sanitized. Like there's nothing salacious about it. It's not sexy. It's science.
right.
She's going out into the wilderness in a power armor with a robot to collect samples from these animals. Like so, like
break it down that way. Oh, Raven Adams.
That's it. Like that's what it's about, really. So I mean, it's so fucking funny. Like, and it's just so one of these things of discovery because like me and my buddy both at the same time tore down a wall of like doing something like this that like crossed a line of like a mature readers with nudity, kind of thing. And it's been so satisfying. We've just like laughed our freaking asses off the entire time. And I'm so confident in how great it is. And I'm so confident how people are going to love it. So I'm really just like allowing myself to praise my own work a lot more than I usually do.
I didn't mean to put that screen up there.
Oh no, I was going to mention also. I have a band.
You haven't even talked about the band. Yeah, that's
Filth USA, which like me and Michael are actually literally trying to put the finishing touches on a music video that's going to be coming out very soon. But we've got 2 music videos on deck ready to come out pretty soon, and a half dozen songs ready to come out and have videos made for them, and another half dozen songs in production. So I mean, Dilf USA is going strong. We all have a lot of great stuff. Me and Robbie, intellect. What do you call it? Visualizing a Grammy into our lives.
That's awesome. I love
but
that.
I mean, I really believe that you guys, especially, there's a single coming out eventually next year. Probably mid next year, called "We Gave an Alligator Mushrooms," and I really think that one might be a life changer for me as a performance artist. We'll see what happens.
This is a good moment, actually. I think I wanted to talk about Dilf and the new song, but I just realized that you had a song come out last year that talked about your feelings about Christmas and the holiday season. Grace says Mazel Tov.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched it, and we are into the countdown
And
on
we are into the
Christmas.
season, so I'm going to share this on YouTube here, and I'm going to play this, and hope we don't get muted. But this is Countdown to Christmas. That's not starting.
Can you make the screen bigger?
Oh, you know what? It's the bonus clip. Hold on, I went to the wrong.
Oh, and can you make it bigger?
I probably can make it better. Here it is, Countdown to Christmas.
That's the one.
Yes. Yes. This is so amazing.
Countdown to Christmas, countdown to gifts, countdown to smiles on all our lips, countdown to peace on earth and peace of mind, countdown to bliss, countdown to Christmas. On the first day of December, we start our countdown to Christmas. Like all good things, it comes slowly. Anticipation gets us through it, but we don't want to wait to celebrate. We want it now, and not a second too late. Countdown to Christmas, countdown to gifts, countdown to smiles on all our lips, countdown to peace on earth and peace of mind, countdown to bliss, countdown to Christmas. Lighting the tree, decorations, billions of light hearts, millions of places, searching slowly for just the right gifts that say I love you. Merry Christmas. But we don't want to wait to celebrate. We want it now, and not a second too late. Countdown to Christmas, countdown to gifts, countdown to smiles on all our lips, countdown to peace on earth and peace of mind, countdown to bliss, countdown to Christmas. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Yeah, it's Christmas! Countdown to Christmas, countdown to gifts, countdown to smiles on all our lips, countdown to peace on earth and peace of mind, countdown to bliss, countdown to Christmas. Let him go! Santa had nothing to do with it!
Shut up, dirtbag. You can talk when I tell you to talk.
Sorry, Santa.
God, what an amazing video, I gotta say. So much fun. It's interesting. RJ said you guys did an awesome job on this video. I love this video so much, not only because I'm not usually a fan of
all these music videos.
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Shout out to Julie Bright, my girlfriend. She's been a force with all the Tilf USA music videos. Now we've only released 2, but there's been 4, and
yeah, amazing.
without her.
Definite shout out to Julie. You got to talk into the microphone though. That's why I'm not hearing you.
I put it down. I forgot. Sorry, there's a microphone. I forgot about it.
That's why I didn't hear. I was kind of talking over you. But RJ said you did a great job in the video, and not to ruin it for anyone, but it was so great to see the process of that, because like I filmed Jesse's kids here on Long Island, and they were making the video in California, and a lot of the people who were in the video submitted that footage of them at the door, and it was just put together so well that it looks, you can't tell.
I think actually we only actually have 1, maybe 2 submitted videos. Every other one of them, we went there.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we drove around. We would do like 3 at a time, and Julie would shoot it, and I would direct everybody. And we shot all those individually at everybody's house, so we had all different doors,
right.
And then we shot the band by itself, and then shot all the things that we shot. Like I remember, like there was 1 or 2 things that we had to shoot afterwards. Like afterwards, I called up my friend Neil, and we were like, "Hey Neil, we need somebody throwing a Christmas wreath at me. Can you come throw a Christmas wreath at me?" So Neil shows up with freaking knives and a chain and nunchucks and like all these different things. And we're just sort of like, "Neil, we already shot Jesse getting hit in the head with a Christmas wreath. We need someone to throw it." Then we're like telling him how to throw it. And he's like, "No, I'm going to throw it like this. Or maybe I could throw it like this." And we're like, "Neil, we've already shot the Christmas wreath landing on Jesse's head. We know how it's going to look right for it to land."
Right. And it looks so good. It really does. It looks great.
It's so funny.
I just love that video. And again, I'm not a big fan of Christmas music at all. And it's like, it's so not a typical Christmas song, and you made it so much fun with the video. So
thank you very much. Yeah, no, and shout out to my guitar player Robbie, who, like, I had mentioned that one as like a possibility, and he just thought it was so strong that he immediately started working on it, and it just like kind of showed up in my inbox in like November last year, and I was like, "What's this? This Countdown to Christmas? I wrote that like 5-6 years ago." And I'm like, "Oh man, it's the song." So it was very cool that he got that out of me, and he's really shown himself to be a great producer, and it came out great in the end. I'm very proud of it. I wrote that years ago for my family, dedicated to my mom, and the spirit of Christmas that was shown to me. And I believe it will stand the test of time, and that video will continue to be seen by many.
Yeah. Well, that, you know what, that part of the story does have a charm, and I'm gonna repeat it, or you can jump in on it. But you were talking about how December 1st in the lyrics, and that was really literally what happened in your house. December 1st, everything changed. The whole vibe of the house became this Christmas village, and the spirit of Christmas was there for the whole month. So that's
thank you. My mom has like debated this now. She was like, "Well, sometimes," like she was like not usually on December 1st, sometimes before December 1st, sometimes a little after December 1st. And whatever it was, it certainly wasn't no 12 days of Christmas. Even if you're starting on like this is 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, it's like fucking 20 days of Christmas.
Well, we started it on the 7th today here in the live stream of Consciousness.
Yeah, so I mean, it really, like, and it was a vibe and an energy, and it's so crazy, just to bask my mom in some sunshine. We were broke for many, many years, and I was very aware that we were broke. But at Christmas time, it was a bonanza. And we were at that like transitory time of like, should we tell Jesse, anything? And I believed like wholeheartedly, because how else could they afford all this? And my mom was socking it away, cutting hair as like a barber's assistant, at a salon, a salon person's assistant, making tips and putting aside her own money for Christmas in particular, so that Christmas would continue to be this bonanza no matter what happened. And Christmas was always just like nuts at my house, even when I knew my parents had nothing. And I remember I was really kind of smarting about it when I did finally get a talking to about, how much help Santa was giving with these presents. And I felt like so ashamed because I had been giving too much credit to the Magic Man and
Mhm.
not enough credit to my mother, who was clearly sacrificing and going out of her way to make sure that we had, more.
Right. Well, kudos and homage to Suzette right now. Heartfelt thanks from Jesse for making life that way. And there you
Thanks,
go.
Mama.
The product is that awesome song and video. I love that. Raven saying that's awesome. Good to see you out there, Raven.
That's so
Jesse,
Raven to say
it's so
that's
awesome.
awesome.
It's so awesome having you back on the show. I can remember when you came back to Long Island and you were staying with me for a bit and kind of trying to figure some of these things out, and like you're nailing it out of the park now. These podcasts are amazing. DILF is doing really well. I don't know if you want to talk about anything here on Long Island in the near future, but I know you got some things you're brewing.
Yeah, I'm working on a cool project out here. I can't really talk about it too much or whatever, but
Understood.
pay attention to my Twitter is the way to find me. I'm
Mhm.
Coolest Geek JBS. I'm on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook. My girlfriend runs my profile for me, but we post updates to that. So but something on Long Island, possibly in Patchogue, and some dates with a local band over here that I'm putting together. In addition to DILF, something a little bit different, something a little funny.
Yeah,
And
always entertaining.
so I'm
Yeah.
excited about it. It's fun. I just get kind of bored, and I just move on to other things when I have to wait. And so much of being a creative person and being a freelancer tends to be waiting. So it's there ends up being all this space. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna go make something else. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make that. So I'm finally getting to the place where I have a use for everything that I'm making,
I love
and I think hitting the nail a little bit more on the head. And by the way, oh my God, it's been an hour.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Yeah. I was getting ready to sign off. I was going to ask you for some words of wisdom for my or let's say our audience, because you helped me start the show and get the audience.
Love you guys. I hope some of you remember me.
Yeah, look out for Jesse Blaze. He's definitely turning up the fire again. I always tell Jesse how much of a power he is, how talented he is, and how much amazing stuff he has to offer. And it's so good to see it all actually coming to fruition. Watching Jesse fulfill the Kickstarters and raising all that money for King of Kings.
Thank you.
And getting to realize that dream.
Oh, thank you very much. And and that is the main takeaway. If you have any interest in it, it's really fabulous comedy. If you like comedy, please consider backing Fucking for Our Future #1. It's live right now on fundmycomic.com/fucking.
Right.
I had to censor the F word everywhere on the website, but I didn't change it for the URL, and they didn't make me change it. So I was like, all right, well, at least I'll be able to tell people how to get there easy.
Totally. It's great. I think it's wonderfully marketed and brilliant. And the artwork is really nice. The artwork is beautiful. The story is great. I mean, I scrolled through
Arnold,
this
he's
already.
amazing, man.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing stuff. Can you scroll down? Can you show them?
Yeah.
Sure.
Before? Yeah.
Hold on. Just show them that first cover. There's a ton of amazing covers, and we got this great colorist to come in. But just go up one more. So this is the
that's beautiful.
The main cover of the book, and it just looks so freaking nice to me. I love it so much.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even see this final version of where you censored out the word here this way.
Yes, I censored it as small as possible, and he accepted the first version. So I was awesome. Yes. Because I had a version where it was more censored, and I was like, I don't want to censor it more. I hate censoring things. Continue to go down, and then just go to the comic real quick, so I could just show you guys what I'm talking about. So this is some of the inside of the book. So that's the three-legged man, and this is her in the power armor seeing for the first time its dick, its gigantic penis. They're just animals, folks.
So
And
they're just animals. They're just animals.
they're
Folks.
just animals. So if you go down, scroll down a little bit, like it talks about the history of Glon and how the men and the women split up, and the women decided that they were fed up in their relationships, and they finally decided, that's it, we're separating, and they marched up north, and they had many different places that they settled in before they finally made New Glon, and they refitted all these sex robots to plow snow and help defend them from these monsters and stuff, so that they could grow as people and better themselves. So they created a new place for themselves, and they started cloning their babies and learning and growing as a society. And then meanwhile, the men did the same thing. They changed their genetics so that they could asexually reproduce, and they went off into the wilderness, abandoning the cities, and they put it into their genetic code that each generation's penis would be larger than the next, to get rid of penis envy for once and for all.
You're giving away way too much, I think.
I'm not giving away way too much. This is the basic premise of the book. There's so much to do with this once you have the basic premise. And anyway, you see here, she's being shown some of the history of some of these things, and she's being shown. She gets shown, if you go down just a little bit more, some possible things that she could prepare herself for how she can collect the sperm sample. But she decides to attempt to lure the beast with a flashing of the boobies. So that's where the last page ends, of her making sounding off sex noises into the megaphone to get the attention of the three-legged man and flash him some tata. We'll let you know if it works out for her.
which is what brings us to that wonderful cover. That's that moment in the story.
Yes, this is that moment from the cover, which I really thought was just like full circle moment for the thing. But I'm so proud of the book. It came out so great. Me and my artist had such a great time. We bonded. We've been friends for a long time, but we became like besties, and we like working together. We've worked together before, and we're going to continue working together for a long time. So it's been a joy. Thank you so much for letting me share it with some people.
Yeah. I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm super excited for it.
I did all the Photoshop stuff with a little bit of help from Michael Zen.
Right. And RJ says, find out next month on
Space Race.
And now you can see why I had the wonderful Jesse Blaze do the voiceover for the show.
That was me, wasn't it?
He
sounded familiar. I said, hey, somebody's stealing my shtick.
Thanks again for being with me tonight. I really do appreciate it. I forgot to mention at the start of the show that Jeffrey Wands, who is an amazing psychic medium here on Long Island, was supposed to be on the show, and he called me last minute. Ironically, he lost his voice, and then today I started losing my voice. I thought it was going to go during the show, but I made it through the whole show. So for those who were here for Jeffrey, he will be on the show in January. We haven't nailed down a date. Next week, I do have a podcast couple, an interracial couple called My Bulletproof Marriage. So we're going to be talking to them next week on the live stream. I hope you guys join me. Lily says it was awesome having you back. Raven, great job, guys. Thank you, guys. Great job by you guys, because if it was just me and Jesse here, we'd look a little crazy just talking to nobody. So great job by you guys for being there. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you, Jesse. Peace.
Thank you.